To our amazing viewers at Midnight Affairs Tales, welcome and thank you. Your presence makes these stories worth sharing. We'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know now. Let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. I answered my wife's phone at 11:47 p.m. That alone should tell you something was off. Melissa never left her phone unattended, especially not face up and buzzing at this hour. "Hello," I said. Silence. Then a laugh. Not just any laugh. That kind of slow, smug, chest-deep chuckle that said one thing. He thought I was a joke. "Damn," the voice said. "You must be the husband." I said nothing. "You sound older than I expected." "No offense, man. But Melissa? She needs someone who can keep up." Another laugh. I had not been this calm since Afghanistan. That laugh was more dangerous than any insult, more humiliating than any truth. And still, I kept my voice flat. "You think you are scaring me, old man?" "No," I said. "But you just made a mistake you cannot walk back." He chuckled again. "What mistake?" "You laughed on the wrong phone call." Click. I stared at the screen, his number still glowing. My hands were not shaking. My heart was not racing. It was something else. A fuse had been lit. Because this was not about infidelity anymore. This was about disrespect, humiliation, and betrayal stacked into one laugh. And I knew one thing with every cell in my body. I was going to make him regret that sound. But the question was, how deep did this go? I remember the first time Melissa stayed out late and told me she lost track of time. It was 4 months ago. That was the beginning. But I excused it. She had been working hard. Maybe she needed space. Maybe I was overthinking. That was mistake number 1. The second? Her phone never left her hand. She even took it to the bathroom. Who does that unless they are hiding something? But the truth is, I ignored the signs because I loved her. She had been my wife for 7 years. We had history. We had scars. I had seen her cry when my PTSD got bad. I thought that meant something. Turns out, nothing meant anything. I remembered when she suddenly joined a gym. New clothes. New perfume. She stopped calling me babe. Started calling me Jake instead. Emotionally distant, but still polite enough not to trigger suspicion. She had mastered the art of polite betrayal. Looking back, I saw the signs like flashing red lights. I just kept driving. And the worst part? It was not just about her. It was about me. I had spent my life fighting for honor and truth, and I was sleeping next to a lie every single night. But not anymore. I was done ignoring signs. I was done making excuses. I was done being the fool in a story someone else was writing. The laugh had changed everything. Now it was my turn to write the next chapter. Melissa's phone sat on the counter again the next morning. It was almost too easy. She was in the shower, humming like life was beautiful. I picked it up and opened it. No passcode. No way. She would never leave it open unless she had gotten cocky. Or maybe she thought I was too dumb, too passive to check. Either way, I swiped through her messages. Instagram first, then WhatsApp, and finally, her Notes app. She had a list titled Things to Remember. Photos. Screenshots. One video file. I opened it. It was a screen recording of her FaceTime with a man. His name flashed briefly on the corner. Ty, he said her name like he owned her. She smiled like she belonged to him. She called him baby. She had never called me that. She leaned close to the screen and whispered, "He still has no clue." None. I paused the video. My thumb trembled once, but I locked it down. Next, I went to her notes again. One note was locked. Her password hint? What he thinks I am. I typed in, loyalty. It opened. Inside was a diary entry describing how easy it had become to lie. How predictable I was. How I made her feel alive. She even called me a zombie in a veteran's body. That one? That hurt. But I kept reading. Not because I wanted to. Because I needed to understand the depth of what I was dealing with. This was not a mistake. This was a campaign of betrayal. And now, I had evidence. The only question left was, how do you destroy someone who already thinks they've won? The name Ty kept repeating in her messages like a sick little drumbeat. Every photo, every voice note, Every flirty caption. Ty did this, Ty said that, Ty knows how to handle me. So who the hell was Ty? I started digging. First through her phone history, then her email, then her synced cloud accounts. Within an hour, I had a full name, Tyler Jackson. Personal trainer, six-pack salesman, wannabe alpha, worked at an overpriced gym 20 minutes from our house. His Instagram? A circus. Shirtless selfies, motivational garbage, captions like real men win, weak men whine. I clicked deeper. Tag posts. Melissa had been in the background of two of them, blurred, but unmistakably her. They were not hiding. Not really. They were just laughing in my face. And yet, Ty had no clue who I was. Not really. That laugh on the phone? That was his fatal mistake. He had no idea who he had provoked. I am not just a husband. I am a soldier who spent 9 years operating in war zones where you had to read lies in the whites of someone's eyes and sometimes kill before you confirmed it. This was not about jealousy anymore. This was about honor. I saved every post, every screenshot, created a digital folder called Operation Echo. My mission had a name now. It had a face. And Ty? Ty had just picked a fight with someone who knew exactly how to end one. People say go to a divorce attorney when your spouse cheats. But lawyers work within rules. I had spent too much of my life watching people get away with things because of rules. I did not want paperwork. I wanted the truth. I wanted the upper hand. So I started building a plan. Step 1, surveillance. I bought 2 discrete wireless cams and bugged the living room and our bedroom. Melissa never noticed. She was too distracted, always on her phone, always messaging him. Step 2, build a timeline. I started logging everything. When she left, where she said she was going, how long she stayed out, what time she came home. The gaps between her words and her actions were growing. Step 3, psychological pressure. I started asking calm questions. Small things. Babe, how was yoga today? I thought your spin class was on Thursdays, not Monday? You seem tired. Long day. Her eyes would twitch. Slightly. Barely. But I caught it. Every time. The house became a chessboard. I moved slow. Quiet. Deliberate. And I watched her lie. Over and over again. One night, she came home with a new necklace. Said it was from a co-worker for her promotion. She had not been promoted. I knew every detail of her job. But I smiled. Nodded. You deserve it, I said. Let her wear it like a trophy. Let her think she was winning. Because I was not coming for the divorce. I was coming for the truth. The whole disgusting truth. And when it collapsed, I wanted her to feel everything she made me feel. And Ty? Ty was going to be collateral damage. The night I invited her to dinner, she wore red. Funny choice. The same dress she had worn on our anniversary 2 years ago. Except now, it looked like a costume. Something she put on to play a role she no longer cared about. We sat across from each other. Candlelight flickered. Wine glasses clinked. I asked, "How was your day?" She smiled. Too fast. Oh, you know. Meetings, emails. Nothing special. Nothing special. Except that she had spent her lunch break 2 blocks away from Ty's gym. I knew. I had followed her. How about you? She asked. I thought a lot about loyalty today. She blinked. Big word, I added. Means everything in combat. Means even more at home. She nodded, too carefully. Yeah, that is true. I watched her hands. She rubbed her thumb along the stem of her wine glass, something she always did when she was nervous. The food arrived, but I was not hungry. I was studying her like an enemy target. Calm. Patient. You have been acting different, she finally said. Are you okay? I met her eyes. I am more than okay. I am finally seeing clearly. Her face tightened. Just for a moment. A crack in the mask. The rest of dinner passed like a play. Her lines were rehearsed. My role was silent. But I saw everything now. She was lying because she still thought she had the upper hand. She still thought I was the fool. And that was exactly what I needed. Because the next step of the plan was going to knock both of them off their little throne. Melissa had no idea our living room had become a stage and I was watching every scene from behind the curtain. The micro camera I installed behind the bookshelf had a perfect angle of the couch. The second one, hidden in the vent near the ceiling, captured the hallway and bedroom door. Audio bugs were planted in a lamp base and under the dining table. Every laugh, every lie, every phone call recorded. She started staying up later, always scrolling TikTok or watching her shows, but her screen was always tilted away. And her smile? It was never meant for me. One night, she curled up on the couch, phone pressed to her cheek, whispering and giggling like a teenager. "I miss you," she said. "No, he is asleep. He is boring, remember?" She paused. "I know, baby. I wish I was with you too." The rage did not hit me like fire. It came cold, controlled, like a sniper sight locking in. I kept watching. She whispered, "He is starting to act weird, though. Asking questions." Then she laughed, quietly, like she thought she was clever. "Do not worry. He is too slow to figure it out." That was the night I made copies of the recordings and backed them up in 3 separate locations: a cloud drive, a USB I kept on my keychain, and an encrypted file in a burner phone. Because when this went down, I wanted receipts. Real ones. Melissa still thought she was in control, that I was asleep, that I was weak. But I was not the man on the couch anymore. I was the man behind the camera, and I was recording her downfall in real time. I had not felt this awake in years. Not since Kandahar. Not since the mission that went sideways and left 3 of us bleeding in a sandstorm while the Taliban circled like wolves. Back then, I learned something. You survive by staying still, not physically, but emotionally. You hold everything in until the right moment to strike. That man had been buried under years of civilian life. But now, he was back. I woke up at 4 a.m. No alarm, just instinct. Mapped out Melissa's schedule on the kitchen table. Used red ink for her lies, black ink for her truths. Drew arrows from one location to another, matching timestamps with surveillance footage. I found 2 gaps in her story, both on Thursdays, both lasting over 2 hours. She had told me it was a staff meeting. I had checked. Her office closed at 5. She had not left until almost 8. That was all I needed. At 6 a.m., I was parked across from Ty's gym. Watched him pull in, smug, sleeveless, sipping a protein shake like he had just cured cancer. He smiled at every woman walking by. He had no idea I was watching him from the shadows, just like I had done in Afghanistan with targets who looked just as harmless, until they were not. I wrote down his license plate, checked his gym's back exit, took photos. I was not going to touch him. Not yet. I did not need fists. I needed truth, pressure, exposure. And when it hit him, it would not come from rage. It would come from a man who knew how to bring war without making noise. I did not believe in karma. Not the way people on Instagram talk about it. But I believed in consequences. Delayed, quiet, brutal. So I gave karma a little push. I started small. Quiet disruption. I created a fake account and messaged Ty's gym's corporate office. Trainer involved in unethical behavior with a married client. I have videos. No reply, but I knew how these things worked. Seeds take time to grow. Next, I sent an anonymous message to a woman named Layla. Found her through Ty's old Facebook posts. Her name came up 3 times in photos always tagged. One of the comments said, "You two better not break up again." I messaged her, "If you are still with Ty, you need to see this." Attached, 2 screenshots. One from his video call with Melissa. One from their messages. She saw them. She left me on read for 20 minutes, then replied, "You are not the first to tell me this. But thank you." I needed the proof. That was the moment I knew Ty was not just a cocky liar. He was careless. I waited a week. The gym suspended him pending internal investigation. Layla unfollowed him. Deleted every photo. Melissa never mentioned it. But I watched her. She was restless. Checking her phone constantly. Snapping at me over nothing. It was beginning. The cracks were forming. And the best part? They had no idea karma had a deadline, and I was the one setting it. I waited until 2:12 a.m. to make the call. Ty was predictable. His messages to Melissa always slowed down after midnight. That was when he got cocky, alone, likely half-drunk, and untouchable in his mind. I used a burner app to mask my number. Dialed slowly. He answered on the second ring. Who the hell? I spoke before he could finish. Tyler Jackson. Silence. Let me guess, I continued. You are in your apartment, right? Off Pinecrest? Studio with the broken front step and the cheap LED strip lights around the TV. He did not laugh this time. Who are you? I smiled into the silence. I am the man whose wife thinks you are a secret. I heard movement. Like he sat up. You look, man. I do not want any problems, too late. Listen, she told me stop talking, I said. Let me explain something to you. I am not some guy you caught off guard. I was a forward reconnaissance officer in Kandahar. I have done things you would not understand. And I have been watching you for weeks. Click. He hung up. I waited. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Was that a threat? He barked. No, I said. That was a warning. There is a difference. You are crazy, man. You are insane. Maybe. But I know about you. Your ex, your job, your lies. And soon, so will the rest of the world. Unless you disappear. He tried to laugh again. Weak this time. Nervous. I let him hear my voice go ice cold. You picked the wrong married woman. And you laughed at the wrong man. Click. That was the last time he laughed. I left the flash drive where she could find it. Right beside the jewelry box. Clean. Unmarked. Easy bait. Melissa found it 3 days later. I was cooking in the kitchen when I heard her gasp from the bedroom. The silence that followed? Heavy. She walked in slowly, holding the drive like it was radioactive. What is this? I did not answer. Just nodded toward the laptop on the counter. Go ahead. Plug it in. She hesitated. I do not know what game you were playing, no game. Just answers. She plugged it in. The folder opened. Inside, 7 labeled video files. Timestamps. Audio. Screenshots. Her eyes scanned faster than her mind could process. I watched the color drain from her face. She clicked one. The one where she said, he still has no clue. When the video ended, she just stood there, mouth barely open, eyes red. I can explain. You already did, I said. Multiple times. On camera. Over text. In your voice. Tears welled up. You were spying on me? You were betraying me. You had no right. No, I cut her off. You had no right to look me in the eyes every day and lie like I was nobody. She sat down, shaking. I did not mean for it to get this far, but it did. The truth was laid bare. And for once, she had no script, no smooth excuse, no backup. I leaned closer, voice steady. You have 2 choices now. You end this, or I end everything. Her eyes locked on mine. She saw it. The man she thought was asleep? He had woken up. After that night, Melissa changed. Not in the way people change when they are sorry. In the way people change when they are cornered. She was quieter, less flirty, but colder, calculating. She started locking her phone again, watching me the way I used to watch her. So I kept digging. And that is when I found it. Tyler Jackson was not his real name. His full name was Tyler James Redding. He had changed it 3 years ago after a fraud case in Colorado, one that was sealed after a settlement. I found an archived mugshot. Same eyes. Same smirk. But here is the twist. Melissa had signed off on one of his business applications under her maiden name. It was buried inside a startup registration for a fake fitness brand. A fake LLC. All pointing to a joint account. They were not just having an affair. They were running something. Something dirty. I sat on that discovery like a live grenade. Because if I played this wrong, I would not just be dealing with heartbreak. I would be facing something much darker. This was no longer about catching cheaters. This was about survival. And if I had to take both of them down to do it, so be it. The paranoia started slowly. It was a Tuesday night. I had just reviewed camera footage when I noticed something strange. My hallway cam had glitched for exactly 17 seconds. Black screen. Then it resumed like nothing happened. I checked the living room feed. Same glitch. Same exact timestamp. That was not a coincidence. I rechecked my backups. One file was missing completely, a recording from the bedroom 2 nights ago. Gone. Erased. And I had not erased anything. A cold realization hit me. Someone had accessed my system. Not Melissa. She did not have the skills. Ty? I rushed to check the physical bugs. The one under the lamp was still there, but shifted slightly. Not how I left it. The one under the dining table? Gone. Just gone. This was no longer a one-sided surveillance mission. They were watching me now. I checked the Wi-Fi logs. A new device had connected 3 days ago, hidden behind a random MAC address. It had been online for 42 minutes. I locked the system down, changed every password, and pulled all devices offline. But the damage was done. That night, I lay in bed, eyes wide open. They were not running from the truth anymore. They were trying to cover it up. Or worse, reverse the game. Paint me as the threat. The hunter had become the hunted, and I needed help fast. The next morning, I took the long way to the grocery store. Just a gut instinct. Halfway down Wilford Avenue, I saw him. A black Chevy Suburban. Tinted windows. Same one I had noticed parked near my block 3 times in the last 2 weeks. It pulled out when I did. Took every right turn with me. Then turned off just before I hit the store lot. That was not traffic. That was tailing. I drove straight past the store and headed to a gas station with outdoor cameras. Parked near the air pump. Waited. 5 minutes later, the SUV crept by again. Slowed. Then kept moving. That was confirmation. I was being followed. Who sent him? Ty? Someone involved in the fraud operation? Was I getting too close? The old combat instincts kicked in. I called Omar Banks, my former unit brother, now a cybersecurity expert out of Virginia. Talk to me, I said. Omar did not waste time. You got tapped. Sounds like someone brute forced your system. Probably accessed your IP through a side device. Smart, but not impossible to trace. Can you trace it back? If I get access to your logs, yes. Done. We worked fast. I uploaded everything from a secured USB, and by nightfall, Omar called back. Jake, whoever did this. They used a remote clone app to mirror your phone. And the access point came from Melissa's laptop. My chest went still. She had not just been cheating. She had been tracking me back. It was not just betrayal anymore. It was sabotage. I waited until Melissa left the house. She said she was going to the spa, the same lie she had used 4 times in the last month. I followed her first, just long enough to confirm where she went, and that Ty was not with her. Then I circled back and drove to the address I found linked to her old mail, a self-storage facility on the edge of town. Her name was not on the lease, but her maiden name was. Unit 117. I walked in with a set of bolt cutters tucked in my jacket. Waited until the front desk was distracted with a delivery. Cut the lock in under 40 seconds. Slid the door open. What I saw inside made my stomach twist. Plastic bins. A locked briefcase. A suitcase packed with clothes. 2 fake passports, one for her, one for Ty. Both under different aliases. A printed map showing a route from Tennessee to New Mexico, marked with gas stations. Then I found a shoebox labeled JM, inside documents in my name. Credit reports. Tax letters. A forged signature on an insurance claim. They were not just planning to run. They were going to frame me. Financial fraud. Insurance fraud. Possibly even identity theft. And if I had not caught it in time, they would have vanished, and I would be the one left explaining it all to the law. I stood there in the middle of the unit, breathing slowly, heart burning like a fuse. This was not a marriage anymore. It was war. Before you go, if this story struck a chord, why not stay for more? We're just getting started, and I promise, the next tale cuts even deeper. Hit that subscribe button. Let's see how far this rabbit hole goes together. When Melissa came home that night, I had everything cleaned up. Calm house. Dinner on the stove. Dishes already done. She walked in smiling, fake and polished. Spa was amazing, she said, setting her purse down. Good, I answered. You needed the break. She blinked. You okay? I nodded, sat down. I am better than I have been in weeks. I watched her for 10 minutes, watched how she moved, how her hands twitched, how she kept glancing at my phone like she expected something to go off. Then I handed her a single photo, Ty's mugshot. She stared. What is this? His real name, I said. Tyler James Redding. Fraud charges. Sealed case. And you co-signed for his business front. Her jaw clenched. Hard. Like someone had just punched her in the stomach. You went through my stuff? I went through the lies. You had no right. I had every right. You live in my house. Use my last name. Sleep in my bed. She stood up fast, voice breaking. You think I planned this from the beginning? I did not even know about his past at first, but you stayed after you found out. You helped him. You covered for him. Her voice cracked. Because I was already in it. There it was. The panic. I leaned back, calm. How long before you were going to pin it all on me? She collapsed into the chair, hands over her face. I was scared, she whispered. We needed the money. We were behind on everything. Ty had a plan. I did not want it to go this far, but it did. And now the cracks were visible. This was no longer the confident, sneaky woman who once whispered secrets to another man while I cooked dinner in the same house. This was someone who realized the rope she had pulled was now wrapped around her own throat. The next morning, I called Omar again. Time to go full burn, I said. He had been waiting for the green light. You want exposure or elimination? Both, I replied. We started with the phone dump. Every call between Melissa and Ty, every message, every voice note. Omar encrypted them and stacked them into a neat, dated timeline. Then came the big one, the audio. One of the surveillance files had picked up a late-night call between Melissa and Ty from 2 weeks ago. I had listened to it a dozen times. Her voice, low, shaken. If something happens to Jake, I will finally be free. That was it. The line that turned this from betrayal to premeditation. With Omar's help, we compiled a digital report, evidence, metadata, voice analysis. Next, we sent it off. First to the FBI tip line, flagged under identity theft and fraud. Then to the IRS, with documentation showing Ty's fake fitness LLC and tax evasion. Then to a local crime blog that loved exposing public dirt, anonymously, of course. Within 24 hours, the fuse was lit. Ty's gym got raided for compliance violations. Melissa's job received an anonymous email with a Dropbox folder containing screenshots of her fake LLC involvement. It was no longer just my game. The system was now watching them. Omar called again that night. You sure about this next move? Absolutely. I sent out one final email. This one to Melissa. No words. Just a file. Title. He still has no clue. 1080p.mp4. Let her feel what I had felt. Exposed, helpless, cornered. Because justice does not always wear a badge. Sometimes it comes in waves. Quiet. Ruthless. And now? It was closing in. I invited them both. Melissa thought it was just going to be a talk. Closure. A final goodbye. She wore mascara. Ty showed up late, cocky, like always. Leaned against the doorframe like he belonged here. You serious about this peace talk, man? He asked as I let him in. I smiled. Very. The table was set. Candles lit. Steak and wine. The room felt too calm, too normal, and that was exactly how I wanted it. I poured drinks. Let them settle in. Then I pulled out a black folder and dropped it in the center of the table. Ty looked confused. Melissa's face drained the moment she saw the first page, her forged signature. His bank wire. Their shared accounts. What the hell is this? Ty muttered. I stared right at him. Your greatest hits. He stood up. You recording me, psycho? No need, I said. That was done already. And then the real twist. Knock on the door. Melissa turned pale. I opened it. 2 men entered, quietly. Suits. One from the Federal Trade Commission. The other? Internal Revenue Service. Melissa whispered, You did not. I warned you, I said. But you laughed. Ty charged forward. You cannot just, the IRS agent cut him off. Mr. Redding, we need to ask you about your business filings. Melissa backed up. Jake, please. I looked her in the eyes one last time. Calm. Steady. You wore red that night. You smiled when you lied. Now you will learn what truth actually feels like. And I stepped aside. As they cuffed Ty, and Melissa stood shaking in front of the people she had tried to fool, I walked out the front door into the cold night air. It was done. The truth had walked in, and it had not needed a single bullet. It had been 3 weeks. Melissa was officially under investigation. Fraud, perjury, financial deception. Her face was no longer the one I had married. It was cold, stripped, tired. Not from guilt, from exposure. Ty had been denied bail. His charges stacked like bricks: wire fraud, false identity use, tax evasion, and accessory to attempted identity theft. He had not looked so cocky walking into court in shackles. And me? I was free. Not in the way people say when they change jobs or take a vacation. I mean really free. The house was mine again. The silence was peaceful, not suspicious. I opened windows without wondering who might walk in or what secrets were lingering behind curtains. My chest did not feel tight when I opened the front door anymore. I had buried the marriage, but not the truth. The truth stayed alive because I kept every file, every photo, every shred of what they had done to me. But I did not hold it with bitterness. I held it as armor. One afternoon, I sat in the backyard, coffee in hand, sun warm, dog by my side. I looked at the garden Melissa never touched but always bragged about, and I felt nothing but peace, because this story was never about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about restoring dignity. It was about a man who had already seen war, already seen death, and who refused to be quietly destroyed by people who thought love was just another mask to wear. And I realized, sometimes the greatest win is simply walking away clean, with your soul still intact. Justice does not always wear a badge. 1 year later, new city, new job. A little coffee shop in Asheville knew me by name. I smiled more, laughed without guilt, slept deeply. I was not angry anymore. I was whole. Melissa had taken a plea deal. No jail, but her reputation? Destroyed. Career? Over. Her family had stopped speaking to her. Even her friends, the fake ones, had moved on. Ty? Still behind bars. And by now, probably realizing that loyalty is not a password. It is a choice, and he had never earned it from anyone. I never contacted them again. Not once. I did not need to. Because I had one where it mattered. Not in court, not on paper, but in my spirit. And if you are hearing this now, remember this. People do not break you. You break when you start believing their lies more than your own worth. You survive betrayal not by becoming heartless, but by becoming clear. You do not need to get even. You need to get honest with yourself. Because truth, it moves slow, but it always gets there. Before you go, let me ask you something deep. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have walked away quietly, or would you have made sure they never forgot your name? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know. And hey, before you head out, if this story gripped you even for a moment, like the video, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, not just for support, but so you do not miss the next thriller, the next twisted revenge, the next unforgettable ride. Until then, take care of your heart, and never mistake silence for weakness. We meet again in the next epic story. Stay sharp, stay true,